live. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Greenwald. Welcome to this health fellowship hour that we always hold from Monday to Friday at exactly 5:30 to 6:30 every day. So today I'm going to present to you a very important product, and before I do that, I just want to let those who are viewing us online, those are online viewers, welcome again. Kindly on Facebook, we are Versatile Next Level Team. When you go to Facebook, search for Versatile Next Level Team and follow us. Like that page. Also leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we can improve on one or two things. On YouTube again, we are very much live. Our YouTube channel is Versatile Team, and we are live. Whenever there is any content that we want to drop or any training, we are also live on that on YouTube. So kindly, when you go to YouTube, those who are following us either on Facebook or those who are admiring us from afar, kindly come closer on that YouTube channel. Kindly like that page, like that channel, also subscribe, and also that pop-up for notification, kindly click on that, so whenever we drop any content, you'll be the first one to know. So Versatile Next Level Team, we are in Naivasha, and we are situated at a place called the Marketplace. The Marketplace is opposite to Kenya Women Finance Trust, next to a very popular hotel called the Njambis Hotel. That is where you will find us situated. And of course, we also have other branches elsewhere, Gilgil, Muranga, and what have you. So I've said that I'm going to train today on a very important product that we call the Greenwald Anxiety and Stress Relief Capsule. Your trainer today is none other than Mr. Paul Munyasia. Of course, just in one or two words, nobody likes what you are calling anxiety. Nobody likes getting stressed up, and although these things, they are in our genes, they are very much in our genes, but nobody likes to get stressed or anxious. Uh, Nowadays life is so stressful, and of course the level of anxiety in our body is higher than before. People are jobless. People are really thinking on how they can raise the money or they can feed their families. So so many people are stressed. People are thinking how my child or how my family will live a very good life. So the level of anxiety and the level of stress in our bodies is very high. But I can tell you for free that this intense, prolonged level of stress and anxiety is also very fatal, very fatal, in that it can damage our brains and anything or areas associated with what you're calling emotional functions, areas also associated with what you're calling cognitive functions, and so on and so on. So Greenwald Anxiety and Stress Relief. We can just start by looking at the kind of diseases or actually a chronic disease that is caused by what you're calling the long-term anxiety and depression. And of course, before we even look at the insomnia and what have you, just allow me to tell you that, or say this. Sleeping helps. Sleeping helps us to lock memories into our brains, because when we are asleep, so many things, and an example of a system in our body that works well when we are asleep or is active when we are asleep is the lymphatic system in the brain. Very, very important. So if you are not asleep, or rather if you lack sleep, this can lead to what we are calling the breakdown of this lymphatic system. And again, it can also lead to ineffective, we can talk of ineffective uh, removal of the metabolic wastes in our brain. And I can tell you that this one will increase to what we are calling cognitive impairment in our bodies. So if you are disturbed by any problems, of course, like anxiety, stress, or insomnia for so long, this could have a negative impact in our body, a very, very bad and negative impact in our body, of course, both mentally and also physically. And this long-term anxiety and stress can cause what you're calling abnormal functions of our body. Very, very much abnormal functions happening in our body because the body is not functioning well. Why? Because you've deprived your body of a very important factor, or you've deprived your body of sleep. So a series of abnormal functions in our body could lead to chronic diseases, and the first one is what we are calling the insomnia. The insomnia is the first one. The first one is insomnia. Insomnia, of course, is that lack of sleep. And so many people, they can say, oh, I don't sleep for so long. Maybe I'm doing online jobs usiku, so you don't want to sleep until or unless you finish whatever tasks that you have given yourself. I can tell you for free that that will have a negative impact on our bodies, or even in your brain. So insomnia is the first one. Insomnia is the first one. And of course, we are going to look at it in deep. Number two is the hormonal imbalance. There is the hormonal imbalance. And there is the cardiovascular diseases. These are diseases that are related to the heart. And when you talk of cardiovascular diseases, we are talking about heart failures, coronary heart diseases. We are talking about hypertension. Those are kind of diseases that are associated with the heart. And you're going to see how if you deprive yourself of this sleep, it can lead to those cardiovascular diseases. Just allow me, under the hormonal imbalance, I think I need to mention this before we go on, is that, there are those hormones that are always produced or secreted when we are asleep. And these are very, very important hormones. Very, very important hormones. Examples are the thyroid hormones. We have the sex hormones, and also even the melatonin. We are going to look at what melatonin is. So these are very, very important hormones that are secreted in our body whenever we are asleep. Also, you are at risk of increased risk of fracture, and also there is what you are calling the weak immunity. There is what you are calling a weak immunity. So we start with the insomnia, and I want to say that anxiety and stress is the most common cause of insomnia. Because when you are anxious, you are stressed up, then you're not going to have or to get sleep. And actually, if at all you do sleep, you're not going to have enough sleep, because you're thinking about, for instance, at this time of the hour in our country, there is that high inflation. There is high inflation. Prices of commodities and products is doubling day in, day out. There is taxation is on a high alert, or a high level. And of course, the kind of money that you have, actually the Kenyan currency is also falling in terms of when you compare with the euro or the US dollar. So all these things put together, and of course, some people don't have jobs. You realize that you will be stressed out. And even some people, maybe they have money, because they cannot say that those who have money don't get stressed out or they are not anxious. You have money, you have everything it takes, but there are those people who are just anxious of what tomorrow will bring. They don't know how tomorrow looks like or will be, or even the day after tomorrow, and even a year after tomorrow. So people are just anxious, and they cannot control it, and this one makes them stress out. This one makes them even be depressed, and of course with that they cannot sleep. They will have a very limited sleep. So I'm saying anxiety and stress is the very, very most common cause of insomnia. But again, insomnia, if you have insomnia, that means that you are not able to sleep well. You realize that this one will even make it worse. It will worsen the anxiety in you. It will worsen the stress in you, because you are not sleeping. You then, the anxiety in you then goes up to the next level. And just allow me to say that with the World Health Organization, this is their data, that 40% of the world's population, they have what you're calling this insomnia, this lack of sleep disorder. 40%. And although 5% they go to see doctors for these disorders, but just an alarming remaining percent of 35, they don't, because they think it is normal. They think that it is normal. They don't love, they don't like sleeping. In fact, because sometimes they say that if you sleep too much, and then you're going to be lazy, or you're going to be poor. But that is not the case. You need to be having a very good 8 hour sleep, a very, very good 8 hour sleep, so that you do not contract this insomnia. So as I was saying, that according to the WHO, 40% they have this sleep disorder. And I was telling you that, of course, sleeping helps us, or it helps our brain to function well. And during sleep, there is that system I just told you that we call the lymphatic system, that is more active than in any other time in the circadian cycle. The circadian cycle is actually that cycle, the physical, the mental activities that take place throughout the 24-hour clock system. That's what you're calling the circadian cycle. So during sleep, that is when the brain is more active. Actually, again, in biology, we talk about development and growth of even human beings and any other living things occurs well during the night. That is when you are asleep. So insomnia can lead to what you are calling ineffective removal of metabolic waste. And of course, in the brain, this increases what you are calling the cognitive impairment, as I have alluded to it earlier. Of course, so you can see that if you are anxious, then you will not be able to sleep. Of course, some factors concerned, and others changing depending on the kind of person you are, the kind of job, the kind of life you are living. You are entitled to different kind of sleep, stress and anxiety. But all that, as long as it leads to insomnia, we are saying that that is very, very fatal. That is very, very fatal. The second kind of disease that is caused by anxiety and depression is what you're calling the hormonal imbalance, and sleep helps our brain to regulate emotions. And we are saying that this lack of sleep then is going to cause a stress response in our body. And this stress is going to cause a stress response in our body, causing the body sympathetic nerves to overexcite, and of course oversecrete what you are calling cortisol. Cortisol is that hormone, or these are hormones that are related to what you are calling either flight or fight hormones. And of course, if they are too much, then they are going to be one very, very cause or source of stress. There is what you're calling the amygdala in our body again. This is This is a structure like part in our brain, and it plays a very important role. It is part of what you are calling the limbic system, and it plays a very important role in what you are calling the emotional regulation, of course, concerning memories or related to fear and anxiety. So these amygdala, together with is part of the limbic system, and this limbic system, we are saying that it is the one that has hormones that will tell you if you are faced with a situation, a very either a very frightening situation. This is the hormones that will either tell you either you run away or you stay so that you fight. So we are talking about the flight or fight kind of hormones. So a lack of sleep, we are saying that will cause the oversecretion of this cortisol, and that means that it will put you under much stress, because if that one happens, it will lead to what we are calling it will put you to an what you're calling it will over, actually you'll be thinking too much, you'll be so much anxious of the situation that is before you, and therefore that one is very dire. And just saying that, studies have also revealed that if you have this stress, too much of this stress, this will potentially lead to what you're calling mental disorders and behavioral changes, of course, depression, and so on and so on. Allow me to also say that in our system or in our body, we have what you're calling the BBB, the triple B. This is what you're calling the blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier is a specialized kind of a system that interacts directly with what you're calling the neurons. And of course, neurons, they form part of the central nervous system. So they interact directly with the neurons, and therefore there is that kind of important or vital role that they play. And this is it. They perform what you're calling a controlled and precise exchange of substances between the brain and the blood, of course, between the brain tissues and the blood. And this BB is very sensitive to high or extensive stress, with a high amount of stress, very sensitive. So therefore, when it is controlling that precise and the amount of substance between the brain tissues and the blood, you realize, therefore, it will be protecting the brain from what you're calling toxic substances. It will be protecting the brain from what you're calling toxic substances. So if that is not happening, if the BB is not there, if you have a lot of stress, this BB is so sensitive to stress, and therefore it will not be it will not perform its task. Therefore, what are we saying? That when the BB is there, it is maintaining a stable environment and also providing the oxygen, providing the glucose, and any other energy substance that is needed for normal functioning of the central nervous system, central nervous system, central nervous system. So it is very important that if you're having elevated cholesterol levels in our body, this will lead to increased blood sugar, increased blood sugar. And of course, this increased blood sugar also will lead to what you are calling increased anxiety and stress. You know, there is that. Just sorry. Sorry for that hiccup. So I think we were on the cardiovascular disease, and I was saying that this cardiovascular disease, these are diseases that protects or pertains the heart. We are having the hypertension, high blood pressure. We also having the coronary heart diseases, that's the arteries and the veins. You also have the heart failure, that is stroke and what have you. So as I was saying that some people find themselves, or we have heard stories, people saying that walipata mtu ameaga, amekufa, alikuwa ameketi kwa kiti na amekufa hivyo tu na ameenda. I was saying that this could be as a result of anxiety or stress and depression that this person was going through, and therefore because he or she put an extra strain on their heart, automatically we had a heart failure. An extra strain on the heart, meaning, you know, the heart is already performing a very, very important role in our bodies, pumping blood, pumping blood to very, very important body parts in our body, and also, of course, receiving that blood. So you realize it's performing a very, very important function, and then you put an extra strain on it by, you know, you're anxious, you are depressed, you are putting an extra strain on that heart. So therefore, you are going to have a stroke, a heart failure, or a heart failure, ASAP. So as I also saying that the blood-brain barrier, very, very important system in our body. So if there isn't that the brain barrier in our body, which is very, very sensitive to stress, because therefore that means that if you are under stress, if you are under a lot of stress and anxiety, then the baby system will not perform its function nicely and correctly and in a manner that is supposed to, and therefore our central nervous system is at risk. It is not going to perform the tasks and the functions that it's supposed to perform. So cardiovascular diseases are very, very fatal kind of disease that is caused when you are anxious, when you are depressed, or when you are stressed. The fourth kind of chronic disease that is caused by this by anxiety and depression is what you are calling the weak immunity in our body. Weak immunity in our body. You know, when your body reaches some kind of high levels of stress, and therefore your body will get used to having too much cortisol in our blood, too much of it, and this one is a leeway, this one is a loophole, this one is an opening gate for more inflammation and more infections in our body and in our blood. So chronic stress is going to decrease your body's lymphocytes. You know, there is what you are calling the white blood cells. These are the leukocytes. The white blood cells, these are the cells that perform, or these are the cells that do what? They help the body or body parts to fight against illnesses and infections. So if your body is under so much stress, then it means that you are going to have too much of the white blood cells being produced. And why is that? Because your body is at risk of contracting or having conditions like the cardiovascular diseases. And therefore, the body has to arm itself to produce more of these white blood cells so that it can fight the kind of risk that you are having in our body. Of course, caused by maybe the cardiovascular diseases and other related diseases. So you are saying that therefore it means that our body has weakened in terms of immunity. Our body has weakened in terms of immunity because you are overworking it. You are overworking it, and therefore it is not be able to perform its functions nicely or correctly or well. Why? I repeat, is because you have made your body prone to other conditions, other chronic diseases attacking your body, and therefore that means that it is also weakening our immunity. So stress and depression and anxiety is not good for our immunity, is not good for our body immunity. Because why? It weakens our immunity. So again, if our body immunity is down, then we are prone to contracting so many kinds of conditions and diseases. Therefore, having said that, having said all those chronic conditions that are caused by anxiety, depression, and stress, Greenwald has come up with a very, very important kind of product that will help us contain this anxiety, contain this stress and depression. And that is a product that we are calling the anxiety and stress relief capsule. Very, very important kind of a product, anxiety and relief capsule. So we are going to look at the main ingredients. What is this anxiety and stress relief capsule made up of? So the main ingredients are what you are calling number one, the GABA. Number one, we are having what you're calling the GABA. Number two, we also having what you're calling the Indian ginseng, Withania somnifera. So these are terms that were given, of course, by the biologists, and of course those the Chinese people. Of course, we have what you're calling the traditional Chinese medicine. So they came up with these terms. So they should not scare you. We also have the semen zizithi spinosae extract. There is what you are calling Acanthopanasis centocosis extract, Gynostema pentaphyllum extract, Crocus extract, melatonin, and the vitamin B6. So we are going to look at each and every ingredient and the important role that it plays when it comes to anxiety and stress. So we start with the GABA. We start with the GABA. As we go to the next slide, we start with the GABA. So we look. I want us to go through. We look at the health benefits of GABA. What is this GABA? Actually, GABA is what you're calling gamma aminobutyric acid, and from that word, gamma aminobutyric acid. So it is an amino acid that is synthesized, that it is made in the brain. And this GABA is very, very important. Why? Because it blocks messages that are sent between the nerve cell, that is from the nerve central nervous system, and the brain, or even the spinal cord. Those messages that include the signal of fear, the messages that include any signal of anxiety and stress, of course. So those are the kind of messages that this amino acid inhibits, this GABA blocks. So therefore, if there is any kind of danger, let me just put it this way, these signals will be blocked from reaching the brain and the CNS, central nervous system. so that you do not, if they will reach, if we are going to have, there isn't enough level of GABA in our body, therefore, what does this one mean? It means that these neurons will keep on firing those signals, sending those signals, and these signals will end up, you as a person, you will end up overreacting. You are going to have even over anxious. Depression is going to even rise, and even autism. And by the way, some even have other brain disorders because of this continuous firing of these signals. And why is that continuous firing of these signals? Is because you do not have the correct or the right level or amount of GABA in our body. So GABA, it means that it is an anti-anxiety. You're not for it is not for that for anxiety. It is anti-anxiety, anti-stress. So because of the anti-anxiety and anti-stress properties that come from GABA, it is going to do what you're calling, it slows down those messages, and it also blocks the kind of messages that I've just said. And therefore, if those messages do not reach the brain or the spinal cord, so that there is that coordination, the brain sends or tells you that you need to either fight. It means that GABA will help you, or it will support what you're calling relaxation. It will make you feel calm, be tranquil, be in a tranquil mood and state, so that before you even sleep. So GABA is very, very important. Gamma aminobutyric acid, very, very important ingredient there, and that is in our anxiety and stress relief capsule. So therefore, it means that if you are stressed out and you're anxious, this GABA is going to block those messages from reaching the brain, and therefore you are going to remain relaxed, calm, tranquil, and of course sleep will come. Sleep will come. Let's look at the next ingredient, and that is what we are calling the Withania somnifera extract. Withania is what we call WS, is actually we call it an Indian ginseng or ashwagandha. It is found mostly in India, or they named it the Indian ginseng. So it's a very, very important kind of ingredient. Why? Because it will alleviate what we are calling the memory loss. It will alleviate what you're calling the memory loss through, of course, various mechanisms. Therefore, it contains, or it has what you're calling antioxidants. It has what you're calling antioxidants that will prevent the damage of the blood cells. And also this ashwagandha extract, it will decrease the levels of cortisol that is produced in our blood. And therefore, remember, cortisol is, if those are the hormones that will tell you either flight or you fight. And therefore, those are hormones, or those are situations whereby you will find yourself, you are so much anxious, under stress. You don't know if you fight, are you even going to be a winner or victorious? If you flight, are you going to make it? So you are under a lot of stress. So this cortisol is actually the main stress hormone. And we are saying that this ashwagandha will decrease the levels of cortisol produced in our body. And actually, if it does that, again, it therefore means that it is going to leave you in a relaxed kind of situation, a relaxed kind of mode, so that you either fall asleep, or those firing signals of fear and what have you, of course, it helps in such a way that also they will not reach the brain. So in simple terms, also this ashwagandha, it has been said, or it has been said that it contains what you are calling flavonoids. And flavonoids these are phenols. These are very important phenols in our body. And what do they do? You know, phenols, an example being a flavonoid, it contains what we are calling anti-cancer. It has medicinal benefits because it is anti-cancer, it is antivirus, it is also anti-inflammatory. So it has those health benefits. So it also has what you're calling antioxidants. So therefore, it is going to reduce the level, what you're calling low density lipoproteins. So lipids and proteins, those are in high levels in our body. So it will going to reduce those lipoproteins, and therefore this one is going to prevent the damage of our blood vessels. And this means that this ashwagandha is very, very important because it is actually preventing, or in other words, protecting you from even contracting these cardiovascular diseases. So it is specifically for you there so that it helps us not to have cardiovascular diseases and other heart related diseases because of stress and depression and anxiety. So it's a very important kind of ingredient that is found in this anxiety and stress relief capsule. Let us look at the next ingredient, which we are calling the Siberian ginseng. So the health benefits of Siberian ginseng. And this Siberian ginseng, it has been used all over the world, and actually it has been the way it is being used is being used as an adaptogen. It is actually being used as an adaptogen. An adaptogen is actually, these are plants or mushrooms that helps our body. They help our body in what way? In a way that, how do you respond to stress? So adaptogen, they are plants that will help your body to respond to stress, to respond to anxiety, to respond to fatigue, and even the general well-being of our body. So you can see that this Siberian ginseng also, it is going to help us when we now being faced with stress. How will the body react? How is it going to cope up with that kind of situation? So animal experiments, they have also revealed that this is antidepressive. It has antidepressive properties, and these properties also, they have proved to be anti-inflammatory and also antioxidative properties. So it's a very important. If there is any inflammation in our bodies, it helps to alleviate those inflammatories or inflammations, and of course any antioxidative situation that comes from stress or associated with anxiety and stress. This is the kind of ingredient that is going to deal with those kind of situations. So it's a very important ingredient, and it is in our anxiety and stress relief capsule. The next ingredient is what we are calling the semen. Is what we are calling the semen Ziziphus spinosae extract, or simply the sour jujube seed. The sour jujube seed. The sour jujube seed. So sour jujube seed, it has been extensively also been used in our daily diet, and it is a very important functional food for the neuroprotective. So that means that it helps us to protect the neurons. I mean, the nerves, the CNS, central nervous system, is a very functional, important functional food for that. And it has been used by the Chinese for so many years. So this sour jujube seed, what does it contain? It contains what you're calling abundant phytochemicals, and these phytochemicals, abundant phytochemicals, these phytochemicals, they help in a multiple of biological activities, and these include what we are calling the saponins and also flavonoids. And remember, I've told you the functions of these flavonoids. Flavonoids, they are oxidants, they are anti-cancer, they are anti-inflammatory, they are antivirus, and therefore it is going to actually do what you're calling improve the functioning of the nervous system. And when it does that, then it is going to promote or improve what you're calling the quality of sleep that you have. So the quality of sleep that you have. So it is very, very important very important to note that this sour jujube also is going to relieve stress. It relieves stress, it relieves anxiety and depression by elevating, blocking, removing, doing away with those symptoms of insomnia. So it's a very, very important kind of ingredient that is in our anxiety and stress relief capsule are very, very important. Also, this sour jujube, it restores what we call a blood-brain barrier integrity. If it is in not performing its work or its function nicely or well, this sour jujube will restore its integrity by improving cell-to-cell adhesion. You know, that kind of connection, that kind of attraction between one cell and another, it improves that, and therefore makes this BB work very, very nicely. And when the BB is performing its function correctly and nicely, therefore our CNS is also protected from toxic substances, and therefore you are going to have a very, very good and improved and kind of sleep. The next ingredient is what we are calling the Gymnosperma pentaphyllum extract, and this one, it has been recognized and also has been used as an adaptogenic. I've already said that an adaptogenic, these are plants or mushrooms that help our body to respond to anxiety, stress, and fatigue, and the general well-being. So this is when you are faced with that situation, anxious, you are so anxious, you are stressed up. These are the kind of ingredients that will go into our body and deal with that kind of situation. And therefore, you know, the Gymnosperma extract, it works in two ways. One, of course, on our central nervous system, it calms our nerves. It calms the nerves when they are irritated, and it will gently energize them. It will gently energize them. Of course, you realize that when you are stressed out and you are anxious, people are so much, you know, how can I put it? High-tempered. You are so temperamental. You are high-tempered. Even mtu akikwambia kitu kadogo yenye unasikia imekufika kwa it pisses you off. It pisses you off. So it's why, it's because of these nerves. It's because of these nerves. They are so much irritated, and therefore they are sending signals to your brain, and therefore you realize they are so much irritable. You don't want to talk to people, or if you do talk to people, then you talk to them in a language or a manner that suggests that you even don't want to talk to them. So they wonder, what is wrong with you? It is because you are stressed out. So those that situation where you are so much irritable, where you're so much high-tempered, so this Gymnosperma is going to go and calm those nerves that are sending the irritating kind of signals to your brains and to other body parts. So as they are calming, then it energizes them, because you are feeling anxious and stressed and you are down, you are so much depressed. So it's going to energize them when you are depressed. Of course, when they are calmed and then energized, they are being energized, then the irritability, the high temperament, of course, goes down. So this also Gymnosperma, it also protects the neurons against the damage if there is any damage to the neurons. Why? Because of the lack of oxygen. You know, I told you that our heart performs a very, very important role of pumping blood to and even from other body parts. And therefore, if you give it, or if you put an extra strain on it, you realize that therefore it's not going to perform its functions well and correctly. And of course, this blood carries oxygen. So that means that there are some body parts that will lack, that will not have enough blood supplied to them, and therefore also they lack oxygen. So if they do lack oxygen, it's because you are stressed out. And why are you stressed out? Because of the issues that you are facing. Stress and depression leads to the heart not performing its work so well, and therefore some of these body parts or organs will not have enough oxygen. So this ginostemma extract will go protect those neurons against damage because they are not getting enough oxygen, of course, through the blood. So a very, very important kind of ingredient that we have there. The next one is the crocus extract. Again, a very, very important. And if you look at it, this one is the most expensive spice in the world, by the way. This is according to the Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine. So saffron extract, it contains what you're calling crocin, saffronol, and other carotenoids. And it also, these biochemicals, those are biochemicals, they work as brain tonics. They work as brain tonics with various mechanisms. So these chemicals, which we are calling the biochemicals, they do what we call, of course, they are inside part of a flower, the way you are seeing, the inside part of a flower they are seeing, but their work is very, very important. Why? Because these biochemicals, they work as tonics. And what do they do actually? They have what you're calling a modulatory action on what you are calling the acetylcholinesterase activity. What is this? This is the increase in secretion of dopamine. And actually, you know, dopamine is the opposite of the cortisol. Dopamine is those hormones that are produced by what do we call it? How can I put it? When you are happy, when you find satisfaction in doing something, you know, that's something that you can't do without. Actually, that is an example of dopamine in our body. But again, too much of this dopamine is also not good because it will make it will increase. I said it increases. I'm saying too much of this dopamine again is not okay. It is not good for our health. It is not good for our body. So this saffron is going, it has what you're calling a modulating action. It will modulate, it will regulate the amount of secretion of dopamine in our body. And therefore, this one will also protect the neurons against what we are calling oxidative stress. A very, very important ingredient there. The next one, I think, last but not least, is what you're calling the melatonin. And melatonin, again, also is a hormone in our brain. Melatonin actually is that kind of hormone that is produced by the brain in response to darkness. It is actually an insomnia relief, in other words. So it is going to help. It is it helps with the timing of our circadian rhythm. Remember, circadian, I said this is the 24-hour clock, internal clock. So it helps with the timing of the circadian rhythm and also with sleep. So melatonin has been regarded, of course, just some things that or some research that was done, and it has been regarded by travelers and shift workers as the magical solution to their irregular sleeping patterns. So, but however, these advances in neuroscience has given way to the discovery that such function is just the tip of iceberg for this crucial hormone. It has a lot of functions. So again, the recent studies zinatuambia kuwa this melatonin, it mitigates, it helps, it remedies what we are calling the oxidative damage to the neurons, and therefore it is also doing what you are calling preventing. It is also protecting the neurons from what you are calling the oxidative stress. It does not want these neurons to be damaged because of the because of the oxidative stress, or actually against what you are calling the neurogenerative generative diseases. These are diseases related to the neurons, the lymphatic system, the central nervous system, and therefore what it's doing is that it is boosting our cognitive functioning. It is boosting our it is actually also it is making our brains, our central nervous system, it is boosting their functioning, and therefore you are going to have less cognitive impairment. That is, those are diseases or conditions related to the brain, related to the central nervous system. It reduces those kind of diseases. Why? Because it is boosting the cognitive functioning of our body. So it is very important. It is very important. And also we are saying that it can pass the blood-brain barrier and work directly to the neurons. So if at all the blood-brain barrier is not working nicely or the way it's supposed to, this melatonin will pass, it will bypass and talk or work directly with the neurons, therefore safeguarding it from damage, and therefore increasing or improving or boosting what you are calling the cognitive functioning. So very fast, there is the last one, actually, the vitamin B. Vitamin B is also very important. Is very important. Is a water soluble vitamin. This is vitamin B6. Is a water soluble vitamin that our body needs in what we are calling in multiple functions. It is so significant to protein, fat, and carbohydrate metabolism. That means the breakdown of the fats, the carbohydrates in our body, and of course the creation of what you are calling the red blood cells, together with the neurotransmitters. So our body cannot produce a vitamin B6. So we have to obtain it from foods and supplements. We have to obtain from foods and supplements. And it is just important, I mentioned this, that this vitamin B6 is very essential in the production of the neurotransmitters. These are those neurons that regulate what you are calling emotions in our body, of course including the dopamine, as I've just said earlier, and also is very important. Remember what we talked about, the GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid, and its function. So this vitamin 6 is important and very important when it works in harmony with the GABA, so that it regulates what you are calling those emotions. So the B6, vitamin B6, very important, very important. It also plays a role in decreasing what you are calling high blood levels of the amino acid, which have been linked to what you are calling depression and other psychiatric disorders. So if you are having a deficiency in vitamin B6, if you are having a deficiency in vitamin B6, then one of the symptoms is depression. One of the symptoms is you'll be depressed. Depression is one of the symptoms of that shows that you are not having enough vitamin B6 in our body. So it's a very important ingredient that is in our anxiety and stress relief capsules, because it is going to do what we are calling produce the neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters, they are the ones that are responsible for our emotions in our body, and hormones like the dopamine, the cortisol, and so on and so on. So another very important thing about this vitamin B6 is that vitamin B6, it is involved in what you're calling the hemoglobin production. Remember, I've talked about the red blood cells. So hemoglobin, of course, is a protein that will deliver oxygen to the cells. Therefore, if you realize that some body parts or in our organs in our body don't have enough of this oxygen, it means that also hemoglobin, which delivers or transports, it has a problem. And this vitamin B6 means that it also means that the vitamin B6 is not enough inside that hemoglobin. And so what am I saying? I'm saying that vitamin B6 will help the hemoglobin deliver oxygen to other body parts. Therefore, it is also, in other words, boosting the immunity of our body. It's also making us not to contract other diseases, heart-related diseases, which we are calling the cardiovascular diseases. So, a very, very important kind of ingredient that we have in this capsule of ours. So, if you get enough B6, this will help you clear your mind. It clears your mind. It increases your attention. It eliminates what you are calling confusion, and therefore it allows you to focus on your work. It allows you to focus, get determined, and get your work done. Remember, if you are stressed, so many things, so many house chores, so many work will remain pending. You will not be able to even finish one task. So, very, very important as I finish. Let us look at generally the health benefits of anxiety and stress relief capsule. So, one, it is a mood booster, and we've already said it alleviates, it mitigates, it remedies anxiety. Inajaribu kutoa wewe kufikiria sana na kukuwa stressed out. So therefore, it is improving your quality of sleep. It also helps in what you're calling the cognitive function, and you've seen that through the ingredients that I was just trying to explain them. And also it improves what you're calling the neurodegenerative diseases related to the neurons and lymphatic system and the CNS. Very, very important there. So this one is suggested for use. Suggested use is that you have to take 2 capsules. And you take these capsules 30 minutes before going to bed. Take these capsules 30 minutes before going to bed. Who are these people who need this capsule? So the next slide is that who needs this anxiety and stress relief capsule? It's recommended for people with insomnia and poor quality of sleep. If you're not sleeping so well or you're having little sleep, kindly, this is the kind of product that you need. So individuals who are under stress, who are with anxiety, and they're also depressed, who also intend to improve their cognitive functioning, the brain, and what have you, who intend to improve the mood, because remember we said it will make you calm, feel tranquil and relaxed. Also, those after 60 who also do not, or who want to keep the neurodegenerative diseases away. So that is all about our anxiety and stress relief capsule, and I want to say that thank you for listening to me. Your presenter today was none other than Nyasia Paul. So those who are still viewing us online, our online viewers, I want to say thank you for taking this time to listen to us, to view us, to follow us as we present this training unto you. So as I finish, we are where we are located, this versatile team, and next to Jambi's Hotel, opposite Kenya Women Trust Fund, that is in Naivasha, and also on Facebook, Versatile Next Level Team. Kindly follow us, like our Facebook page, comment, leave us a comment on YouTube, Versatile Team. Also subscribe, like our content, and all will be well. So I want to say thank you for listening to me. Thank you so much, and good morning, Greenwald.